So who are you really? You might think the answer is just, a list of things that have happened to you. But what if it's more about which of those things you decide to string together? See, our identities, they're really shaped by the stories we tell about ourselves. We connect these different moments from our past, and boom, we create a narrative, a plot for our own lives. Okay, let's look at a real example from the author of our source material. On one hand, you could tell the story of a lonely boy, right? He's 13, kind of awkward, sitting all alone on a mountain ridge, doesn't have a girlfriend. It's a classic, what you might call a problem story. But what happens if we just add a couple more details? Turns out he wrote his very first song on that ridge, and his dad, he used to always sing him this song about being on top of the world. All of a sudden, a totally different story snaps into focus. A much more preferred story, you could say. A songwriter on top of the world. Isn't that something? The facts are exactly the same, but the story completely changed.
Now that's a great example of a story we can choose to write for ourselves. But what happens when the story we're stuck in feels like it was written by someone else? Sometimes these really negative narratives, often pushed on us by other people, can feel like a trap. To really see what I mean, let's dive into the story of a woman named Vanessa.
These words, "you're good for nothing," they just echoed in Vanessa's head. They came from her abusive ex-husband. Just one single toxic sentence. But it started to poison everything. Her whole sense of who she was. It wasn't just a bad memory. It became the dominant story of her life.
Really, it became the headline. The headline she felt was written in giant, bold letters for absolutely everyone to see, coloring how she thought everyone saw her. But here's the thing. That good-for-nothing story, it wasn't the only one out there. Not by a long shot. Her sister, Salome, she had a completely different headline for Vanessa's life. The kindest person I know. And this wasn't just some nice platitude. It was a story built on real memories. Years of Vanessa protecting her and caring for her. And this shows us something so important. There are always other stories. Richer stories, truer stories, just waiting for us to find them.
So the big question is, how do we escape those negative headlines? How do we take back the pen and reclaim our own story? Well, the way forward comes from this really powerful idea called narrative therapy. And it all starts with a truly game-changing shift in how we think about things.
I want you to really let this sink in. The person is not the problem. The problem is the problem. Just think about that for a second. It sounds simple, right? But it's profound. This one idea creates space, it creates distance, it separates who you are from the struggles you're facing. You aren't depression. You aren't anxiety. No. You are a person who is dealing with depression, who is grappling with anxiety. See the difference?
This specific technique has a name. It's called externalizing. And it's all about learning to talk about problems as if they're separate things, entities outside of you, not some deep internal flaw. And this simple linguistic shift, it changes everything about your relationship with the problem. Suddenly, you're not defined by it anymore. Instead, you can finally turn around and take a stand against it. I mean, just look at the power of changing a few words. Instead of saying, Lucy's a depressed person, which sounds like a permanent state, what if we say, Lucy says she's been in a fog of depression? Or instead of, I'm useless, try, that feeling of uselessness visits me sometimes. Can you feel that? The difference is huge. You're not denying the problem exists, not at all. But you're reframing it in a way that gives you power, that gives you the agency to actually fight back.
Okay, so once we've externalized the problem, pushed it outside of ourselves, what's next? How do we build something new and better in its place? Well, we build what we call a preferred story. And there's this wonderful, really creative tool for doing exactly that. It's called the Tree of Life exercise.
And this exercise is designed to answer that one central question. How do you build a new story? One that's actually full of your strengths, your skills, and your hopes. I love this because it moves us away from just diagnosing everything that's wrong with us, and instead helps us discover what's strong with us. It's about building a story that isn't defined by our problems, but is rich with our skills, our values, everything we hope for.
So let's build this tree. Starting from the ground up, you've got your foundation. First, the roots.
These represent where you come from, your history, your culture, your family, all the teachers who've shaped you. And then you have the trunk. The trunk is all about your skills, your abilities, and the core values that keep you standing tall and steady right now.
And then we start to look up, towards the possibilities. The branches of your tree, they're reaching out towards the future. They represent all your hopes, your dreams, your wishes, for yourself and for the world. And the leaves on those branches, those are the significant people in your life. Friends, family, mentors, whether they're still with us or not. They're all part of your story.
And finally, what does this tree produce? Well, it creates fruits and flowers. The fruits are the legacies, the gifts you've received from other people that have really nourished you along the way. And the flowers and seeds? Those are the gifts you want to pass on, the positive contributions you hope to make in the world.
But you might be wondering, okay, what do I do with all the bad stuff, the negative parts of my story? Well, the tree of life actually has a place for them too, and this is brilliant. When Vanessa, who we talked about earlier, created her tree, she didn't just pretend her ex-husband didn't exist. No, she put him in what she called a carefully constructed compost heap right at the base of her tree. How incredible is that? She's acknowledging his impact, yes, but she's transforming all that toxicity into fertilizer for her own new growth, totally on her own terms. So when you look at all of these ideas together, externalizing your problems, building this incredible tree of life, it all really boils down to one powerful central act: reclaiming your right to be the author of your own life story.
And this leads us to a really powerful conclusion. You have rights. Rights as the storyteller of your own life. Think of it like your own personal charter of storytelling rights. First, you have the right to define your own experiences in your own words. Second, you have the right to have your life understood in the full context of everything you've been through. And third, you have the right to not have problems located inside of you, as if there's some kind of personal deficit. Please remember this. You are not just some side character in a story that's being written by your circumstances or by other people. No, wait. You are the author. You are the one holding the pen. And that means you get to decide which moments matter. You get to decide what they mean. And you get to decide where the story goes from here. So, I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. What is the current headline of your life story? And, maybe even more importantly, who's the one writing it?